Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast, a podcast all about reviewing and critiquing each and every menu item on the Cheesecake Factory menu. Joining me today is average cheese enjoyer Alex Jones and superior cake enthusiast Jamie. How you doing, fellas?
The best title I've ever received, maybe in my entire life. Thank you.
I was going to do a voice from what I thought average cheesecake liker Alex Jones would sound like, but I can't be bothered. I've never been to Cheesecake Factory as well.
Oh, mate, it's quality. Let me tell you, it's so good. I know it's probably not so good, but when
they even exist in this country?
No, I went to the States. When I went to the States on my California road trip.
Cheesecake Factory.
It's good. It's like actually decent food, and then of course they've got the fucking added benefit of having like 50 cheesecakes.
But here's the thing: is it actually a factory? Is there some processing plant attached to every restaurant with like a production line of cheesecakes being made?
I'd love it. You walk in, then you'd be like, "Yeah, this looks like Factorio. Yeah, cool. Or Satisfactory. Yeah, cool. Let's go."
You could just open Cheesecake Kitchen, and then that would be the better version because you don't want a factory cheesecake if you can have a kitchen cheesecake.
I think once we hit a certain amount on our Patreon, we are going to abandon the podcast and just open the Cheesecake Kitchen. And the whole USP would be we are there every single day from like opening time to closing time. And people can come in, enjoy their cheesecake in the kitchen. And we're just talking shit like we usually do as if we're on a podcast. So it's almost like, you know, like these immersive theater productions. It's like immersive podcasting.
Almost, you know, like when you're leaning around the island in the middle of the kitchen and then someone comes in at a party and you kind of go, "Oh, you're right," and then they sort of just join into the conversation. It'll be like that. It'll be a one-on-one SuperShow cheesecake experience. Yeah, we wouldn't make much money.
It's the human traffic effect, right? That's like that film was all about that kind of shit. All right. But anyway, guys, this Cheesecake Factory Appreciation podcast is available on YouTube and fucking up, and a podcast platform of your choice. I'm talking Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. I don't know, fucking Google it. But anyway,
we also play live at the Cheesecake Factory. If you go in, we're on the big speakers.
Imagine.
Quality. We just get paid in cheesecake.
I don't need to put on any more weight.
Well, tell me about it. Anyway, we are also available on internet radio, paisleyradio.com. So YouTube and podcast platforms on Fridays, the following week, Thursday on Paisley Radio, and the following week, Monday on Paisley Radio again. And that's at 10 p.m. So go check it out and say hi. Fellas, I mean, let's put the cheesecake aside for 1 second, Jamie.
Do we have to? Like, just kind of starting to get into the whole cheesecake thing, actually.
All right, fine. What's your favorite because you got to understand, right? Cheesecake Factory has a list, like imagine you open up a menu and on both sides of the page is just like different variations of cheesecake. So what would be your like ideal situation?
See, this is where I'm really going to let the cheesecake enthusiasts in the audience down, which is that like I'm really fucking boring when it comes to cheesecake. I don't want it to be overly vanilla-y.
Okay.
Vanilla-y. Yeah.
Vanilla-y.
Sure. I don't want it to be overly lemony. I don't want a lemon cheesecake. I don't particularly care for baked cheesecakes either.
Okay.
I can tolerate a strawberry cheesecake.
So you're like a fridge cheesecake then, yeah?
Well, yeah. What I'm basically saying is, I think that sometimes it's referred to over here at least as a New York cheesecake. It's just a regular cheesecake with it's basically like cream cheese and sugar. With no other real flavor in it. Probably a bit of vanilla extract. Well, you put a face, but that's what. It's a strange day in the life and the evolution of a human. Yeah, when you realize that cheesecake is cheese. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really want to. I don't know. A pudding that tastes just like cheese sounds weird.
It doesn't taste. Are you saying you've never had cheesecake?
No, I've had cheesecake, but it's always like chocolate or lemon or something. But if you're going for the cheese flavor,
all right, do me a favor. Put your retrospective goggles on. Cast your mind back to when you had that lemon cheesecake, right?
Right.
Do you think if you remove the lemon flavor profile from that dish, it would taste like cheese?
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm worried now about how it would taste. Maybe it would be better. I've just looked at the menu for Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, hit us up with some selections. Come on.
Well, see, one of the things that's blown my mind is there is a section for desserts, but there's also sections for small plates, snacks, appetizers, salads, flatbread pizzas, lunch specials, burgers.
Yeah, no, it's like
this
a
is not
proper
what I was
restaurant.
expecting.
And the food is nice. And obviously,
Am I going to eat anything from a place called Cheesecake Factory that isn't cheesecake? Hell no. Because I know one thing, they do not know their ass from their elbow when it comes to salads or a burger or a sandwich. I'm not touching that.
Think the English equivalent to that is when you go to a fish and chip shop that for some reason has a Chinese takeaway in the exact same building, the exact same menu, and you're run by the exact same people, and you're like, hang on a second, are you frying your sweet and sour chicken in the exact same oil as the fish?
It's like those corner chicken shops. They're like, fried chicken, but also pizza, hamburgers, ribs, wontons.
All of the above.
Weird, man.
Yeah.
The original.
Trays.
Do you want to hear what the original cheesecake is from the Cheesecake Factory?
Yes, of course.
So it's creamy cheesecake with a graham cracker. That's what it says. Isn't it? Graham cracker crust. And
this is my buddy
topping.
Graham Cracker.
Well, it's Graham. We don't say Graham.
No, Jonesy, it's graham cracker the same way it's Laura Croft, okay?
No, it's spelt Graham. They just don't say Graham.
No, it's Graham. It's Graham and Laura.
No, it isn't.
Totally is.
You're insane. But no, this does not sound good.
What have I done to us?
Tastes of cheese and it's got sour cream on top.
Yeah, it's quality, dude.
And Graham's made a cracker
the
for the bottom.
Cheesecakes don't taste like cheese. They're just made with cheese predominantly.
Right. Yeah, they're just kind of
need to set up
the creaminess, right? Like, I'll tell you what, I do, because you haven't answered my question, Jamie, so I'm just going to have to fucking steamroll in and say ideal cheesecake would probably be some kind of a pina colada mixed with some passion fruit. I think that would be absolutely divine.
Let me jump in and just say my wife does make a killer Bailey's cheesecake.
This is interesting because which is
really good.
We've been saying maybe we've got to come over for a barbecue.
Barbecue.
And I think when you have a barbecue, you've got to have some form
cheesecake
of a dessert, right?
I don't really eat cheesecake, so her Bailey's cheesecake is good, but I don't really eat cheesecake apart from that, which is why I'm so confused by all this different types of cheesecake.
Hang on.
So I'm going to leave it and say my favorite is the Bailey's cheesecake, but the original cheesecake sounds gross.
These Cheesecake Factory lot are con artists.
Why?
So they do pizzas, right? And they've got a pizza called the Everything Pizza. And the Everything Pizza has pepperoni, sausage, peppers, onions, and mushrooms. And that's it. That's not everything. That's not even all the meats.
That is far from everything.
Yeah, where's my rib meats and where's my wontons?
We could have a lawsuit at our hands here, lads.
Where's my
class action
spring rolls?
You just gave me something that I need to add to the section when we talk about what we've been up to this week that I can't leave out.
Wow.
8 pizza. Jones just wording out what Jonesy's typing right now.
Yeah.
You can't laugh, Chris. You told us all about your crisp life fucking 2 weeks ago. You were the one 2 weeks ago that was like, what have I been up to this week? That's right. I ate crisps.
Do you know what, though? To be fair, that is an insight into the life of Chris at the moment, in that the one thing he's done that week that he remembers is eating crisps.
Exactly. The only thing we're talking about. I will tell you, though, that last night I demolished a pack of those KFC crisps? Zinger double crunch Walker's Max. And I've got 3 big packets of the nacho cheese just waiting for me. So the jalapeno cheese. So there you go. Anyway,
dearie me,
fellas, let's maybe I don't know about you, but maybe we should move on from the cheesecake. It's just a throwaway joke, but hey, we've been here for almost 9 minutes. So,
well, I actually wanted to suggest that we think about setting up a post box so that people can send us cheesecakes and we can give them a try.
Oh, dude!
Nah, come on! Imagine if that got delayed in when it was getting sent here. You just got this fucking 3-week-old cheesecake sat in a PO box that none of us can be bothered to go and pick up because we decided to put it exactly in the middle of all 3, like equidistant between us, so no one actually ever wants to go.
That would be so funny.
We get a call from the Royal Mail being like, yeah, we opened your PO box because of a weird smell. It turns out there's just 50 rotting cheesecakes in there.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, you know what? From one thing that's maybe a little bit rotten to another, just going to go out there and say it. The Outriders servers are a little bit rotten, aren't they?
Oh, dear me.
Because, hey, guess what? Newsflash. We are not a Cheesecake Factory podcast. We're a gaming podcast. We talk about games. And we've got a lot to talk about today, fellas. We've got Outriders. Potentially the return of E3, probably. Some very interesting Hideo Kojima news. But yeah, first, Outriders servers. You guys have been playing it. I haven't played it yet. What are you thinking?
I've had a good time with it the few times that I've managed to play it. Like it's still a very good game. I enjoy that loot cycle. I got to the first section actually where I couldn't progress by myself. So I've had no luck with the matchmaking when it comes to trying to play with random people. It just doesn't find me anyone to play with.
But is it older? Isn't Outriders meant to be like you can play the entire game single player?
Yeah. You can do, but there's certain bits that especially some of the boss fights that I think lend themselves to multiplayer much more so. And I've been playing it single player, but I want to play it multiplayer. I think it'd be more fun. I think it'd be a better time. So I thought, hey, let me jump in with some random teamage. Because I tried to play it earlier in the week, bumped into a whole lot of server issues, so I put a fork in it, then came back to it a little while after and tried to play again and managed to play. But yeah, the team making just wasn't playing ball. And then I got to quite an early boss, I guess, which is like some lava spider.
Love those.
And I'm letting it play on the maximum tier that I've unlocked, which is the default setting for the game. So world tier cranks up as you go along to give you better loot and stuff. And that spider thing's killed me like 3 times. I nearly killed it actually. The second time I did it.
On your own?
Like, okay, on my own. And I thought I might just crack on. But I thought, what I might do is go onto our Discord at some point in the week and see if anyone else wants to hop on and play a game together.
That is an excellent idea. 100%.
Assuming there are some console players out there.
But so you've experienced some of the server issues, right? Because there's been...
Yes.
I guess it's a good problem to have because it means that your game's kind of popular and it's overloading the servers. But from what I can tell is people can fly, and Square Enix have been very good with their communication of like saying, hey, we're working on these issues, we know it, what's wrong with it, blah blah blah. Cool.
They've had for me it's been a weird one. I actually saw some commentary from their media people sort of saying that they're getting loads of hate for the problems that they're having with their servers, and actually saying like it's been horrible, and then how bad, how sort of mean people have been on Twitter, which is weird because you can kind of appreciate people are being annoyed, but this dude was saying like, it's we're trying to fix it, we're really sorry, but you don't need to be so horrible like about it, because but at the same time they've actually been really good especially on Twitter to keeping people informed.
Totally.
But that's just that's the typical, I hate to say it, but that's the typical gamer response, isn't it? It's like, I want to play my game, I can't play my game. Let's go fucking shout at the devs. Like, come on.
Not even the devs. Let's go shout at whoever's running the social media account today. Like someone from the fucking marketing team who doesn't know
it's usually some kind of an intern who's just like, you just take care of the social media for today.
There was a post that kind of went, I was going to say viral, but then what does that even mean nowadays? It was popping up a lot in the circles that I think we run in from someone who worked at Rare around the time that Sea of Thieves launched. And they were saying that they had so much trouble with the feedback and responses they were getting as a result of Sea of Thieves' launch difficulties that Rare ended up hiring an in-house psychologist to basically do group therapy sessions with the people who ran the social media teams. Like, that was how bad it got for them.
Well, there we go. So the next time you want to shout at a dev, think about the poor psychiatrist.
Yeah. No, they're not the poor psychiatrist, the rich psychiatrist. He's doing group therapy sessions on the daily because these guys are getting fucking hounded on Twitter.
Maybe just you know what you could do? Take the money you were going to pay the psychiatrist and just pay it out as little bonuses and be like, the more mean comments you get, the more bonus you get. And then just put that aside for the social media people. They'll probably be more grateful for that. But they've been really good. Like this social media stuff and how informed people have been. It's been annoying, don't get me wrong. Like, so I'll just give a few of my experiences up to this point. So it's things like when you start the game and then it's like hit X to sign on and you try and sign in and then you just get a spinning thing going like signing in and it takes forever. I've had it so that you get through that and then it kind of just kicks you out the other side and you can't get in. I also had it where I got in the game, played it for about like 5 minutes and everything seemed fine. But as soon as I tried to access a menu, it was like it reloaded and tried to access the servers or whatever, because it's not, I don't think it's constantly like online. It's kind of like it checks in with the servers, and it as soon as I did that, it kicked me out and it was like, the servers are offline, sorry about that. And I'm like, dude, and I'd lost like 5 minutes of progress, which isn't much, but some people have reported that they've done sections of the game, have then gone to progress, and then it's effectively said, oh, sorry, you weren't online this whole time, which means all your progress has been lost.
Okay, to be fair, that fucking sucks. But hey,
Yeah.
you don't need to send death threats to dev because of it. No, I don't know. Like, surely we should know by now, fellas. An online game, even if it's only a single player component that you're using, but if there's always online connectivity that needs to connect to a server, surely by now we should know that, like, hey, the first week or two are probably going to be rocky. Like, going all the way back to Diablo 3 and the fucking infamous error messages that you used to get there. And even then, it wasn't a new thing. Like,
I think...
Sorry, mate, go on.
I was going to say, the way I always heard it explained, and whether or not this is a valid excuse, I guess, is up to, anyway, like the individual, is that to load up on server capacity and to spend on all you need to spend for the infrastructure to deal with that first week, that first day, those peak numbers is like horribly inefficient in terms of cost effectiveness.
Yeah.
That basically it's never worth anyone doing it. That if you spend the money you need to spend to make sure this doesn't happen, you would be throwing your money away the second you've dealt with that peak.
Yeah, exactly. Like, imagine this. Okay, let's take another Square Enix online game. All right, in Marvel's Avengers, they're probably thinking, fucking 200 million people are going to log on the first day, so they're going to throw all this money at these servers and make sure that everything's fucking stable. They flick the switch to go live, and it's like, yeah, okay, cool. 1 million people showed up, and then Square Enix are thinking, never again. I'm not doing this.
And then you get a game like this, Outriders, where apparently they shipped half of their physical copies in like the first week or something, which I don't think they were expecting to do.
Yeah.
And it's set all sorts of records on Steam as well, hasn't it, with the concurrent players? So
hey, listen, it's cool, dude. Like, new IPs, I love hearing. Like, I haven't played the game. It doesn't necessarily interest me. Maybe I'll try if you guys hop on and we arrange something. But I don't have to necessarily like a game to be excited by the fact that there's a new IP out there and it's actually fucking successful, because it just seems like that's such a rare fucking thing these days.
Yeah, totally. Sure. I will say that, like, I'll give a little. I'll talk about more when we do the little catch up. I have definitely found that it's living up to sort of what I hoped the game was going to be, which is what I think it's done so well. Is because whereas, like we were saying before, Marvel's Avengers was a bit of a damp squib when it actually released.
Yeah.
From what I've played so far, it's exactly what I was hoping it would be. It's
that's good.
But you just, the weird thing is I think you need those team elements, because it is a pretty one-trick pony in the sense of what it does, and you need people to play that game with. So these server issues are definitely sort of hampering that experience for me at the moment.
And I've got the kind of the reverse end of that stick, which is that I'm just hoping people are still playing by the time I get time in my life to pick this game up. So I haven't been able to play at all so far. So I'm hoping Jonesy's still lingering in a couple of weeks' time.
I might just wait. I messaged Jamie the other day and I was like, do you want to play some Outriders? And he was like, dude, I haven't even bought it yet. Like, I told you I couldn't play today and I didn't have it. I'm like, yeah, but I want to play.
Yeah. Also, my backlog is groaning. I think I'm now playing 4 games at once or something stupid like that, dude. Just because I'm an idiot.
Let's not get into that, right? Like, I've got so many games on the backlog, and what do I keep on doing? Playing the same 2-3 online games over and over again.
Yeah, it happens, bro. It happens.
Anyway, let's head on over to the comment of the week, shall we? This one comes from Javela Cujo. That's right, you may have heard his name before. What do you guys think about COD fully going into the future, possibly doing a new game based on World War III or something like that? Which is interesting, because, I mean, it's not like COD hasn't flirted with the future, or even near future. COD Ghosts was kind of near future, then you had Advanced Warfare, and then obviously Infinite Warfare. What do you guys think?
It is an interesting one. I think the thing that's difficult with COD and the idea of what might COD do in the future is that COD's been a constant for so long now, but it's still hard to know how much longer it will be a constant for.
Yeah.
Like, let's say Call of Duty's been annualized since roughly 2007, I think it was.
Mental.
Like, at least that was when they properly got, like, okay, every year with that. Like, before then, it was a little bit flaky, and there were different games on different platforms. Like, 07 was, I think, Modern Warfare, which is when they kind of knuckled down.
The start of it, yeah.
So that's 14 years this year, I think. Quick maths. I might be wrong, though. Is that right? I don't know.
Years.
But the thing is, like, if they go for another fucking 20, then yeah, like, of course they're going to have to go into the future again at some point, because the only other 2 things you can do, like they've got modern day, which they've got a whole series that has exhausted that to the point that they rebooted it with the exact same name and now are telling the same story again.
Yeah.
You've got near future, which is kind of what the Black Ops series has flirted with and Advanced Warfare has flirted with.
Yeah.
And then you've got past and historical, which, you know, World War II people are bored of. World War I Battlefield tried and people didn't seem to love it, but Call of Duty could do it. And then, you know, various takes on Vietnam and so on.
I guess
the
other option is something that we talked about in the 1 or 2 pods ago. We're saying that the other option that's starting to open up is kind of like alternate history.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to explore.
Right? Like if you think of how Wolfenstein kind of did it, it's like, hey, what if the Nazis won? You know?
Totally.
Interesting.
I'd like to see them experiment more with that stuff. Certainly, I'd like to see that more than I'd want to see them return to the far-flung future. Not because Infinite Warfare was bad. Infinite Warfare, its campaign was good, but its multiplayer didn't get its hooks into me at all. I think as soon as I start to play a Call of Duty multiplayer where there are like robots and weird like fucking... I know the boots on the ground thing is a bit of a meme, but I think that is multiplayer Call of Duty at its best. So there's a tightrope walk to take there for sure.
It's a bit of a so one of my favorite online multiplayer like war games was Battlefield 2142, and I really enjoyed that.
So good, yeah.
And one of the reasons I got so into it was because they seem to walk like the right line, as Jamie's saying, like the boots on the ground side, but you still had a taste of like futuristic technology, but it still felt like a Battlefield. And I did not like Advanced Warfare. I'll put that out there. Like I thought it was I don't know why, it just didn't really jive with me. But I did really like Infinite.
You and Kevin Spacey, yeah.
but I did like Infinite Warfare, right? I thought that was I liked the way they did that. I liked the kind of weird framing of it and the spacey side of it. But if they could come down on a sort of slightly futuristic game that almost felt like a Modern Warfare game, but with tech that wasn't quite so exosuits and almost like more of a Black Opsy feel, which I think Advanced Warfare was, and more of a war front, like a
So really what you're waiting for is, because Black Ops is going through the timeline, right? So what you're waiting for is for Black Ops to reach the modern day, like in its timeline. Because then they'll have like some of that experimental shit.
But Black Ops do that sort of small vignette special ops warfare, but I don't want that. You know the sections in sort of Modern Warfare where you had dudes shooting at you from every direction and you were dug in behind a line with you and your buddies and you had to push the line. I like that feel of combat. I want that, but I want it in near future and with someone to come over and hand you a weapon that, you know, you're like, what is that? And you're like, some crazy rail gun that can do, I don't even know.
Did you like the campaign of Advanced Warfare?
I didn't even really like the campaign of it. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't like it.
The campaign of Advanced Warfare did have some really cool ideas in terms of what is some like possibly plausible technology that we could apply to this. I remember one mission, you're basically going in to save some hostages and they kind of create this gadget that is almost like a sound vacuum where you place it down and it sucks all the sound out of a certain area so you can blow a hole in the ceiling and it doesn't make any noise. And it was that I thought that was really cool.
I don't remember that.
And then you drop in, and then you're on the other side of this wall, and you use like a heat thing and a heartbeat thing to see where people are, and you've got a gun that can shoot through the wall, so you never actually go into the room with the hostages. You just identify them. Like they did some really interesting stuff, and I know a lot of it revolved around the fucking freaky deaky techno arm he's got because Kevin Spacey gives him a new arm. But I think Advanced Warfare did have ideas, and it
did have ideas. Yeah. It did have ideas. It was the feel of that game so I suppose what I want is what do you call it? World at War, but set in the year like 2200, or maybe not. Right. Maybe like 2078, 2050. There you go.
2077.
2077.
Imagine COD 2077.
I suppose it's that sort of the bigger battlefield feel that I'd quite like to experience. But because I think COD have already said that they're not doing World War III, right? They've said that that's not going to happen in the next game. Earlier this year, they said that's not happening. So
yeah, they kind of debunked it. I think it's still kind of up in the air as to what it might actually be. But hey, you know what? You're looking for that big battlefield experience. You know what else is coming out this year?
Yeah, Battlefield.
The next Battlefield.
and from what I've heard, the next Battlefield will, it's ironic given everything we discussed, will actually be, if anything, more of a near future than a current day kind of thing. They're going to do the whole, what if this was set in 15 years' time?
Yeah.
So things basically feel the same, but we can start exploring more advancements in sort of, I've heard references to things like drones and Boston Dynamics style robotics, and they're possibly
that would be wicked.
Like, it could be really cool, dude.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
There was a few. Although I did see another leak about COD, about Warzone this week, which I was going to fill you guys in. I want you thought, get your take, because obviously this could be a load of rubbish, but some leaks around the vehicles that are going to pop up in that map, which, as we talked about last week, spoilers in case people don't want to hear, but is likely to be the 80s Verdansk map. So I think some of the leaks are that the vehicles are going to be the Big Bird, which I guess is a helicopter, a police car, a box truck, a medical transport, a pickup truck, a van, and a personal transport, which the only reason I found this interesting was because, to me, it sounds like they've effectively taken all the vehicles that are in Warzone, which is a post sort of militarized Verdansk, right? You've got all those tents set up and something bad has gone down. You've got like that military presence. They're reining it all back to what happened before the military were there. So, for example, the box truck is probably just going to replace the truck that you drive around at the moment, which is a military vehicle. The Big Bird, if it's some sort of like news helicopter or whatever, it's just going to replace the military helicopters that are flying around.
Yeah.
So it's almost like just like reskinning, I guess, but it adds more to that.
Yeah, this is the thing that I don't get about like this whole Warzone thing. It's like, you're exactly right. It just sounds like entirely like a reskin. Like, the map is the map, the layout is the layout, the buildings are the buildings, and like, okay, so you're not changing it in any meaningful way. You're still gonna have a fucking helicopter. You're still gonna have an armored truck. You're still gonna have a normal truck. You're still gonna have some kind of a small, I don't know, maybe instead of like an ATV, you're gonna have some kind of a fucking tricycle or something. I don't fucking know. But
they do have motorbikes in Black Ops Cold War that they could just rip out of that game.
But do you get what I'm saying?
ATVs,
like, you look at some of the other battle royales, like you talk about your Fortnites and your Apex. Like, when they change shit, they fucking change shit. You know, like the biggest. What's the biggest change that Warzone went through? Oh, they opened up the stadium and they got a train working. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's true.
It's true. There's a subway system that everyone immediately completely ignored, and that's basically it. And then they've closed that this season anyway. Like,
there you go.
So
it's weird because I do want to see like the 80s Verdansk. And with the leaks about this sort of stuff, I'm like, okay, so they're removing all that military influence. It will be cool to see things like.
Hold on, Josie, because you want to see the 80s Verdansk, but half the map has not. The current iteration of the map, half of it still looks like it's in the 80s. Like, there's still like that supermarket that looks like it's in the 80s. Like, what's going to be different?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's all it's going to be is not like the windows won't be smashed on some buildings. Everything will be slightly less wrecked, but it will basically just look the same. Like, as you said, it will be, you'll just take away some of those tents, the military tents. You'll take away some of those towers, like the little outposts and things. Yeah, it sounds like it's. I suppose maybe airport will be interesting because airport won't have a huge hole in it, and there won't be bits of planes.
Maybe.
They've shown a few things. Like, I know, obviously, we're talking about like how much can change if Verdansk goes through some kind of military occupation. But for example, dam hasn't been built yet in the 80s,
right?
So that's
okay. So that's quite a big section. Yeah.
And that's now a huge like aqueduct-looking bridge, so you can still go across the top, but it's almost like there's nothing underneath. It's weird.
Drop, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean if dam doesn't exist, doesn't that mean that the area below dam will be water, like a huge lake?
So no, it looks like it looked just like a hill, like a mountain almost. So I don't know where the water.
Oh, wow.
Because if you think about the other side,
doesn't know about geography. Okay,
but then if you think about the other side of dam, on the top level is a frozen lake. So there's no flowing water around that area technically anyway in modern day Verdansk.
but then why build a dam? Like, unless you wanted to take away the lake lower down, why would you not build the dam if it was frozen?
Maybe there's a lot of rain in 90s Verdansk, and
maybe
there's just a bunch of like fucking tsunamis. I don't know.
But then I wonder if there is a lake. Well, no, you said there's not going to be. I was going to say if there is a lake, maybe that brings on like watercraft and things. But if there isn't a lake, then I guess there's not.
Speedboats, baby.
I think the opportunity has to come. Right, we know some things like, because of the leaks, ironically, that TV station and stadium and things like that and dam are similar fundamentally, but like different because they're at different stages in their literal development. I think the opportunity comes with, are they going to take any places, any buildings like prison or like parts of downtown or promenade or superstore or storage, or like, are they going to take any of those places and say, actually, we're going to basically completely get rid of this and just replace it with something entirely? Like before Storage Town, like I know one of the things that's rumored is like a mine, like some kind of mine area.
Right.
Like an underground mine. So like, are they going to say that Storage Town is built on top of mines and like actually on the surface level, it's also this other thing? Like they could.
It's going to be your subway again when no one goes into it.
Yeah, exactly. Mine warfare. That's going to be the next pod. Can I tell you guys something that I did 2 weeks ago? I was going to talk about it in the pod last week, but obviously I had my technical issues.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Anything to do with eating crisps? I'm just spitballing.
Well, I have
or
been
cheesecake.
I have been eating lots of crisps. No cheesecake. No, I fucking deleted Modern Warfare off of my system. And you know what? It's like a fucking weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I feel free, fellas. The shackles have been taken off and my wings have spread out. And this peacock is going flying, boys.
You're running a great risk talking about your wings spreading out and how the peacock is flying when we are mere minutes away from doing our weekly catch-ups. You're setting yourself up here, Chris.
You are.
For some big announcements.
I'm actually ready for. I haven't played Cold War yet. This is the first time I haven't played a COD game like on release for a number of years. So I'm actually. I think maybe before they switch up the map, I might actually dip in and get Cold War.
I think if it's on sale, you can get it on the PS5 because there's the DualSense stuff on it isn't bad. Then it's a fun but brief campaign, if nothing else.
Fair enough.
And zombies.
Yes, zombies. Zombies is one of the things that. There's so many parts. This is what I find strange about Battle Royale maps. I was playing Warzone a couple of days ago with some mates and realised, we went into an area that I'd never been in before. I think, which is one of the silos which is opened where the missile sits. And if you go inside, you can like push buttons and you can do things like
it's up near military base, right in the mountainous area around military base. Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Where
This is one right at the bottom. This is one right near Park.
Okay, yeah, so there used to be these big statues, and they've like split open now. So that's again at the top of the hill near Park, like just south of where like, you know that like weird construction area with all these unfinished wooden houses? Is it south of that place?
I think so, yeah. So, but you go into there and there's a big missile sitting there, but then, you can go into an area where you can push buttons and you can do stuff like you can bombard an area where the zombies are. And if someone's activated the zombies or whatever, because I haven't done that, I don't know, I haven't done that, you can then bombard the area. And I'm like, oh, these are some really cool ideas. Almost had pangs of Fallout 76 in like the idea of you can nuke this area, you can do this. But there are so many things that I've never experienced in that game where I would love to, but I'm always so goddamn concerned about just dying constantly and getting shot in the face that I've never done it. So it's a weird one to me. Like part of me wants to say, can we all go in there on like a peace mode and just all work together and like experience some of that stuff that they've put together?
Fortnite did do that when Fortnite had like situations happening where like, hey, people probably shouldn't be killing each other and dying while Travis Scott's doing a concert. They obviously created parameters wherein you weren't taking damage or killing each other.
Yeah. Well, do you remember we talked about a few weeks ago how it would be cool to have a Battle Royale game where it was like all of the humans who were playing the game versus a big, huge wave of zombies who are trying to like come at them. That would be a hell of a way if they finish off the map, if they effectively say every person in the game, was it 150 odd people?
Yeah.
Were all playing together, trying to repel the zombies, and in the end, you have to push a button. And some real person gets to launch the nuke that destroys the map. Like, that would be wicked if they did some kind of event like that.
That'd be cool.
Sounds like a different game, but yeah.
I don't know if they'll go that far, but there will be an event that will involve the launching of a nuke, and you'll be able to, those voice lines have already leaked. Of like Captain Price going, there's a nuclear missile inbound. You've got to get down.
Love it. You should audition, Jamie. I think.
Thank you.
You have a bright future ahead. All right, fellas.
Actually, for anyone wondering, that was not my Captain. That was just that was a generic Price-like voice. That was not.
That was your leaked Captain Price, yeah.
Yeah, that was my leaked Captain Price voice.
I got you. All right, guys. Well, look, it's fun talking about cheesecakes and COD and server issues, but we wouldn't be able to talking about any of it if it wasn't for the generosity of our patrons. That's right. This show is entirely funded by patrons, actually, because that's just the truth of it. Yeah. So this whole kind of Super Show experiment, if you will, is brought to you by some lovely patrons. I'm going to read out some names because these people keep the lights on and the cameras rolling and some of the other shit that goes on. And I'm, of course, talking about Anthony Muncie, Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Hacksaw Book Read, Jesper Camdal Nielsen, Javella Cujo, you may remember from Comment of the Week, Leo Merger, Lonnie Thompson, Magic Grits, Nathan Piers, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid, Zach Cream, and we've got the big boys. We've got Shell Shock, Manuel Guerrero, Peaswad, and the Dude Abides, all tattooed on my testicles. 2 on one testicle, 1 on the other testicle, and 1 on the other testicle. That's right. So there you go. Thank you, one and all. You guys really kind of keep the motor running, oil the loins of this podcast. Yeah.
Oh, Chris. Yeah. A
And
unique breed.
Yes. Well, thank you.
In my mind, Chris is just there with olive oil and he just rubs it all over his hairy gooch area and just like keeps it all.
Where's that come from?
Oil the loins, he said. He said it. And it's got to be olive oil. I don't know why.
It's definitely olive oil.
Chris has got to be there with the olive oil.
It's only olive oil, fellas. But yeah, listen, if you would like to be the olive oil in my loins, then make sure to go to patreon.com/SuperShow, I believe. Yeah, /SuperShow.
That's the name of this fucking thing.
No, because I forget if it's like Super Show or Super Show Pod, which we've got before. But yeah, patreon.com/SuperShow and show your support. For as little as $2, you get access to a Discord server where we are on and you can chat to us. I think $5 gets you access to Patreon-only content, which we put up a very interesting After Dark Full Frontal podcast last week. So go check that out. But yeah, other than that, I mean, fellas, tell me what you've been playing. Jonesy, let's continue with you. So you said you played some Outriders. I
did, yeah. So a bit of a spotty week playing Outriders because there's like some of the server issues, but still having a very good time with it. It is, I've seen some people tweeting about it and saying how it's very much of it is what it is, and it sort of has one idea, which is true. It's a progress to an area, kill a whole bunch of enemies, progress to another area, kill a whole bunch of enemies, pick up a thing, go back to your base, and then do the whole thing again, and then you throw in a few boss fights.
I don't know why people are surprised by this. That's the fucking genre. Like, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I suppose I agree. It never said it was going to be anything else. But actually, interestingly already is, and again, comparing it to Marvel's Avengers, already in my few sort of hours that I've played it, it's already thrown at me a couple of variations of enemy types of, I think I've fought some different, a couple of different mini boss fights. So it's not just fighting humans with, the heavy or the guy who takes loads of extra damage or I can't remember what they call them, the altered. There's also, like I said, some huge lava spider. They threw in winged, like big flying griffin bird things at you that you've got to defeat as you get. So just more enemies, which is one thing that I think Marvel's Avengers just never did, like, never varied it up, never gave you anything else. Yeah. And as you progress through that map of, it's almost a bit like Death Stranding in the way that you're sort of connecting point to point and moving across the country. So far, the Outriders is like, you're here, now progress to this point, and now progress to this point, and you're working your way, uncovering the map as you progress across the planet.
But can you piss whenever you want?
No, you can't piss whenever you want.
Yeah, can you drink a monster? So
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Does your can of Monster Energy like miraculously refill whenever it rains or you walk through water?
No, it does not. You are absolutely right.
Lacking features.
One thing that really bugged me about Death Stranding was how those.
Here we go.
How repetitive those cutscenes to drink, because you had to drink the monster to rebuild your stamina. Like when you were in your little base and he was sitting on the bed and he'd like down his can and he'd go in your face and like spray you in your face and he'd throw like the can in the bin. Couldn't they have paid Norman Reedus a bit more money and just done a few more takes of things and to mix it up? It's so annoying that they have I think it's like three animations, and then it replays.
Yeah. I was spending time in the safe room, and then the whole process of, right, I'm going to take a piss, then I'm going to do a poo, then I'm going to take a shower, then I'm going to drink a Monster, and then I'm going to go back out. Yeah, sure, like it's a little bit long-winded, but I don't know.
But you had to drink like 5 cans of Monster to rebuild all of your stamina up or whatever it was. And every time you did it, it would go through exactly the same animations.
Yeah.
And every time you went in the shower...
You could skip it. If you pressed options, you could do skip cutscene. But I
didn't want to skip, Jamie. I wanted different. I wanted more.
You wanted to bask in Norman Reedus' Monster Energy loving antics.
Like how many adverts for his motorbike show were we going to have to sit through? Every poop.
Not enough, because I was going to say I couldn't even remember what it was called before Chris said it. So clearly not enough.
It's on AMC, Jamie. Don't you know?
Oh, really?
That was so repetitive. That stuff was painful. But anyway, I digress. But no, Outriders, very good game. So like I said, I'm going to hop on the Discord this week and see if I can wrangle some people that aren't too far along in that game to come and play some with me, because
$2.
Jamie
to play with
$2. $2, that's it. Jamie's not on it yet, and I'm waiting for Jamie to
I don't know when I'm going to get on it, man.
Well, hold on. Steph's on it. Why aren't you playing with Steph?
Steph's already got the full trio. Full troop.
Yeah, he has, because this is the other thing that's annoying about Outriders. I don't know why they do 3 people. Oh, no, I'm kind of being stupid now because there's 3 of us. It would be perfect. But there are 4 classes. Why aren't there 4 playable characters?
True. Yeah,
teams of 4. It seems odd.
True.
Yeah, it should be. That's it. Probably they got to the point where, all right, you've coded the sort of first player, you've coded the second player, you've coded the third player. Do you want to code the 4th one? The guy's like, just call it a day. I got some cheesecake to go and eat.
It is interesting how many developers over the last couple of years have decided that 3 really is the magic number when it comes to multiplayer or co-op scenarios. I don't really know why that happened. Why that became like
because it's the minimum expected, right? Because if you got 2 players, then it's co-op. So that's a different thing. And if you want multiplayer, it's like, just have 3, because then that's like,
having up to 4 would make sense for me, because Outriders you can have 1, which then should, of course you can have 2. So so you can have up to 3, but why not make it up to 4?
It must be some kind of a balancing issue. Like if you have 4 players, you have to balance it in a specific way, but then maybe as soon as 3 of those players leave and you're left with the 1 dude, then it's just not manageable. I don't know. There must
maybe it could do.
You like to think that there's got to be a reason, but more often than not, there's no fucking rhyme or reason to any of it, is there?
No, that's probably true. One of the worst for that is Warzone, where they go from quads to 3s, and they keep bouncing between the 2. So you get a team of 4 mates together, and you're like, for a month, you're like, oh yeah, this is wicked. We're playing like 4-way rebirth or whatever, and then it goes, now it's 3, and you like sack off one of your mates. Because
that's to be fair, in their defense, that's only on their kind of like timed or sort of temporary modes. Yeah. Like if you want to battle royale, you can always do no matter how many people.
I've got one.
Jonesy's a Rebirth Island fanatic. So.
we play so many of those weird versions. The armored truck one was so much fun.
You did armored. What was it called? Armored Royale or something?
I think so.
I've played like 300 hours of Warzone. I've never even looked at that mode.
That that was wicked. I genuinely had so much fun playing that. It was brilliant.
Yeah. But Jonesy, I got one worse for you, right? Because I've been getting more and more into Apex. And Apex has this weird queue bug. I don't know if it's an actual bug or maybe it's just fucking me. I don't know. But you'll queue in a trios. Something will fucking glitch out and you launch in just on your own.
So it's just you like, standing there going...
Just you. Against fucking all these other teams of 3. And you're like, well, fuck.
That is one. I think Apex, am I right in saying Apex has an area where you can load in on your own to like test out weapons and stuff?
Yes, yeah. There's like, they've got like I think it's called firing range or something. I don't know.
That's
I've training grounds or something.
Right. Why don't all games have that? Like Warzone doesn't have that, and it's such a strange omission. You do a whole setup, like a loadout of yourself and your weapons or whatever, and you can't just go into an area and just chuck grenades and shoot. It's so odd. Bizarre. Yeah. Anyway, enough about those games. I've also been playing a little bit of Oddworld Soulstorm, which came free to PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
this month. And yeah, it's an Oddworld game.
It's an Oddworld
feels very
game.
Much like
why is it every time we talk about this fucking game, we're like, it's an Oddworld game?
Turns out.
Do you know what it was for a second when I started playing it? I was kind of like, oh yeah, I can't move forward and backwards. I can only move left and right. It's because it's an Oddworld game. But again, it's what it is. It's very. It's I don't know what to say. It's very familiar. If you've played one before, then you'll be like, wow, this is familiar. But nice, it's cool. The some of the CG stuff and the cutscenes is cool. I like the animations and is a fun concept. And a fun idea. So hopefully I'm going to play some more of that.
Is it still as twisted as the Oddworld series has been?
I've only played a bit, so from what it seems to be. Although it seems like they're doing some weird timey-wimey stuff in this one, which is going to be interesting.
Oh, okay.
I think the main upshot so far is still Abe and his buddy's going to get eaten if you don't see them. So,
and that's an Oddworld game.
And that's an Oddworld game. So
it does sound like Oddworld.
Yeah, so it's cool, and I'm looking forward to playing some more. And it plays fine on the PlayStation 5. It seems it doesn't seem like it's,
I should fucking hope so, dude.
No, but I was going to say it doesn't seem like it's leveraging the power of that system, but it looks fine and it does feel dated. I'm not going to lie. Some of it does feel clunky. Some of it does feel dated. But again,
do you think that could be because it's an Oddworld game?
I think it's because it's an Oddworld game.
Interesting.
Yeah. I haven't. Do you know what? I just realised I haven't even farted yet in that game.
I thought you were going to say. I thought for some reason you were going to say something like, "I haven't even farted since this podcast started." Like you're usually just tramping away, but they're all silent.
No, I need to get back into it and find some little friends to laugh at my farts.
Good idea.
That's an Oddworld game. Yeah,
that's an Oddworld game.
Anything else?
Yes, one more thing, which is not game related, but is movie related, because I finally watched Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen
it's a controversial one, apparently.
I was going to say Jack Snyder.
I haven't watched the epic 4-hour-long Snyder cut. I mean,
yeah, funny that.
I'm gonna. So
you have your priorities right when it comes to DC movies, Jonesy. Wonder Woman 1984, top of the list. Zack Snyder's the Snyder.
Well, to be fair, it's like half the fucking runtime. So
true, actually. And much easier to get your wife to watch than imagine.
Yeah, and much easier on the eyes, if you know what I mean.
Ooh.
All of these things.
It's 16:9.
Talking specifically when Kristen Wiig turns into a cheetah in the last 20 minutes, and Chris is a furry, so
that's it. Be all over it.
One thing led to another.
Don't start that.
Do you know what? I don't know if it was because we were talking because of like the Verdansk thing and a whole bunch of other stuff, but it feels very 80s influenced my life.
It's funny that Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of 80s influenced stuff going on. So I was like, okay, let's check out this. And yeah, I watched it with the wife, and I thought the first one was actually all right. I didn't mind the first Wonder Woman film. I didn't think it was as great as everyone made out. Like it was
enjoyable, yeah.
It was fine. It was enjoyable, but it definitely wasn't the this epic action superhero movie that a lot of people said it was. But it was fine. This one, I even tweeted about it and said I can't tell if it's a perfectly fine superhero movie or one of the shittest films I've ever seen.
Oh wow!
Like, Jamie? Have you seen it?
I've not, but those are two pretty sort of far-flung ends of the spectrum. Like.
Can I just very quickly? I think I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen Wonder Woman 1984, but you know what I have seen? Shazam.
Okay.
And Shazam did really well at the box office. Critically, did very well. And I watched it and I was like, it's fine. But at the same time, it's also a bit shit.
Shazam is a bit
I think I get you, dude. Yeah.
Aquaman's got a bit of that going on as well, where it made money.
Hold on. Aquaman's got that in fucking spades, dude.
Yeah, because you come away from Aquaman going like, I don't know if that was just a like sufficiently fine in that, hey, probably not that good in the grand scheme of things, but it's a comic book movie, blah, 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 blah. Or was that actual fucking shite?
So I think maybe Aquaman... I'd probably get crucified for this, but I think it goes more towards the
I think fucking all those DC Universe movies walk that tightrope where it's like, that's really fucking on the border of being one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. I started watching Harley Quinn
and I only got halfway through it before I got bored and switched
off.
The Fabulous Emancipation of One Heart. I thought that was cool.
It's perfectly fine. And I think maybe that's what Warner Brothers are trying to go for. They're trying to be like this, like just this middle ground. They're not trying to like exceed anything, but they're just making sure that they're not going to be Joss Whedon's Justice League ever again, right? And so it's almost like you kind of like squashing it to the middle, where it's like, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
So I really liked Harley Quinn. I thought that it almost reminded me of Deadpool in a lot of ways, with like the slightly more adult humor and the swearing and that. And I really like Deadpool because I'm not like a big superhero movie guy anyway, but I quite like it when they sort of mash together various genres. And I think Harley Quinn did a good job of being that character piece and having oh god, what is her name? Who's the actress who plays Harley Quinn?
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie. It's like you put Margot Robbie into a wacky role where she gets to be some crazy character. It's just like putting Ryan Reynolds, who I also massively love, into a role where he gets to be a wacky, crazy character. It's just a good time. But then you take something like Aquaman, where you've got like, he's an absolute monster in a good way, but
Jason Momoa.
But Momoa is kind of wooden in a lot of respects, right? So you're going to put him in a film and base a whole movie around him, and then you have like that. It's just a bad film. Like, that is a bad film with a lot of money spent on CGI. Let's be honest.
But I was going to say I don't think Aquaman is bad because of Jason Momoa. I think he's probably the redeeming factor in it. I think what's bad. I think
he's fine. He's fine.
Going at the end of the thing, and you're in this underwater neon lit fucking thing where a kraken comes out and everyone's riding fucking dinosaurs and shit. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
But what I mean is, you can take Ryan Reynolds, you can take Margot Robbie, and you can put them into kind of a slightly mediocre films, and you can end up with a pretty damn good film because they're riding on them. But you can't really do that with like a Momoa. And I think Gal Gadot doesn't have that either for me. She looks fine, but she's nothing to write home about as a kind of amazing, incredible personality in a role. So then the film has to rely on the writing and the storyline, and that is the dumbest story. So if you, in case people don't know, it's basically Aladdin 2. It's Aladdin
2, Jafar's Revenge.
Yeah, it's the Revenge of Jafar.
Is Kristen Wiig Jafar?
No.
The pirates, Iago.
Mate Boy is
Joel from The Last of Us.
What? Sorry, I can't remember his name. Pascal, yeah.
Joel from The Last of Us, yeah.
Yes. He's the
Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian, yeah. He is the genie. He is Jafar. And
is he the genie or Jafar? You said two things.
Jafar is the genie. He's the same. Jafar is the genie in Aladdin 2.
Yeah. He becomes the genie.
Oh, you mean actual Aladdin 2, not Aladdin 2 like a sequel to Aladdin?
Yeah, no, like dude, but in the similar way that Jafar is the genie.
I've never seen Aladdin 2. I thought you just meant like some weird pseudo sequel to Aladdin.
No, I mean a pseudo sequel, but in the same way that.
Wait, hang on a second. Who watches the fake straight to VHS Disney sequels? Who watches them?
Mate, when I was a kid, I watched it religiously.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I loved it. When I was a kid, it was great. But so in this, you've got like Pascal is the genie, right? He is Jafar. He's the evil genie who makes wishes, but then does a weird thing where he goes. Also, Leprechaun did this when the friggin' little shitty horror films where he gives you a wish, but then he does something slightly skeezy with it, and that is the plot of Wonder Woman 1984.
It's the what's it called? It's the monkey's paw.
Yeah,
right?
the monkey paw.
They even reference that in the film. They keep talking about the monkey's paw. They say, "Oh yeah, you make a wish, but then something bad happens as well," and that's the plot of the film. And then you have to sort of put yourself in that mindset and go, "Hold on." So in the future, in the later DC films, we're supposed to believe that all of these characters exist in a universe where in 1984 they were all like the wishes were being granted to absolutely everyone around the world, and the apocalypse nearly happened. Like, what are you talking about? And it's all this stupid contrived way of going, oh, I don't even know. Like, but yeah, anyway, so stupid.
I've got it now. Like, this is more of an elevator pitch, right? I'm picking up on what Disney and in this case Warner Brothers have been putting down, and I've got the perfect story for The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. Okay, yeah. So The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo goes to Esmeralda, and Esmeralda's like, "Look, I can grant you a wish." He's like, "Oh, perfect." And she goes, "I've got to warn you though, because I'm a gypsy. It's a gypsy wish, and so it's going to have a monkey paw element. Something's going to go wrong." And Quasimodo says, "I don't want to be a hunchback anymore. I want to be less physically handicapped." And she grants his wish, but as a result, it compensates. It becomes more mentally handicapped. So The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, he's not hunchback anymore, but he's like,
wow,
he's got learning difficulties. Is that what you're meant to say? And so he's still in love with Esmeralda, but he can't communicate anymore, and he drools a lot, and then he gets arrested for just openly masturbating in front of her.
I think,
and then because it's France
Jack.
and it's France in the olden times, they don't know what to do with people like that, so they just hang him. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
But so back to Wonder Woman 1984. What I never understand about these sorts of films, and this is what always blows my mind, and please let me know in the comments if you agree with me, because I always am so baffled by this. You sit down with Wonder Woman, right, as a concept, and you go, we're going to make a sequel. You have the entire canon, especially because they've gone back in time to 1984. Yeah. You've got the whole canon of Wonder Woman, if you want to make a movie based off. And you sit down and decide to make a film based around some stupid magical wish thing, and you're going to go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. We're going to have Pedro Pascal making wishes for people, and that's going to be the basis of our whole film. And then I realised, or I think this is what they did. You realise that the only reason this film was made was to put Chris Pine back in the movie.
Oh yeah.
The whole stupid concept that doesn't work and is shit and is Aladdin 2 with Jafar is so that Chris Pine, who looks about 80, even though he's like 40, I don't know what's going on with that dude's face. Like, just to put him back in it. And then people come out and say, what an amazing epic movie. And I'm like, are you people watching the same film I'm watching?
You see, you are coming to the realization that I came to a few years back, actually, in that I have become too old and jaded to have anything pure and enjoyable in my life anymore.
You may well be correct.
Hey,
maybe
listen,
that's the thing.
And you know when I found it out? It was the fucking year of Mad Max and James Bond Spectre.
But hold on, because you boys, when the DC fandom happened and they had that Pattinson Batman, you guys were well into it, and I was like, this is going to be shit.
No, because Batman,
shit.
Batman is
and you were both so hyped, and this is more proof to me that DC cannot make a good movie.
No, because
Batman is separated from.
No, he isn't.
Bro, you're literally forgetting a film that proves you wrong.
What?
Joker.
Yeah.
All right, Joker was very good, but all right. Joker, I would say, is therefore the separate one, because Suicide Squad is terrible, Batman and Superman is terrible, Justice League was terrible, Aquaman was terrible, the Wonder Woman 1984 was apparently terrible. Like, I think I've decided now it wasn't good, it was terrible.
This is You've sounded it out.
This is what I'm trying to explain to you, Jonesy, is you thought they were terrible, but guess what? They are some of the highest grossing films ever made.
I don't think that means anything anymore.
No, it doesn't. It just means that people want enjoyment, and they're like, Wonder Woman in 1984, that sounds wonderful. So they go and they fucking watch it, and they're like, yeah, it was all right. And they pay their money, and those films make bang.
But and isn't this proof that Pattinson's Batman's going to be terrible? It's just going to make a lot of money.
No, because you're not understanding. Warner Brothers look at Batman completely different to how they look at DC EU. I'm convinced of it. It's their golden egg. It's their golden egg. It's protected.
Well,
and I think they even learned their lesson when it came to Batman versus Superman and Justice League. Maybe the ball was rolling too far ahead to kind of stop after Batman versus Superman, but they had to get to the Justice League to get to this point. And I think what they've realized is that, like, you can't do that. You can't jeopardize your golden egg for the sake of everything else.
Oh, can we have another bet coming on?
I think the DC
Batman's
EU is
going to be shit.
I mean, mate, it could be, but I think the dream of the DC EU is basically over, right? And like one of the weird things about
it's the multiverse. That's the DC multiverse.
But one of the things, like, obviously in the wake of Zack Snyder's Justice League, hashtag release the Aya cut, I think, referring to the Suicide Squad movie that was bad, started trending. The reason that's not going to happen is because they're already rebooting Suicide Squad as the Suicide Squad with James Gunn this time, who can only make one movie because he's already, like, made friends again with Disney and he's gone back to Guardians.
Does this mean in a couple of years, Joss Whedon's going to be back as well because they're going to make friends again?
Maybe.
Yeah, probably. I hope so. And this time they actually just call it the Justice League. They just call it
Justice League. Yeah. Oh, mate, imagine.
Anyway,
that took on a life of its own. I didn't mean to make it.
It's I think all the keys to the Justice League success are clear as well. You just a load of really powerful and empowered women, a couple of empowered black guys, but then you cut all of them out in post-production. It doesn't matter. and then you rewrite half the movie as a comedy.
Yeah.
You got to win.
Has anyone seen, Jamie, I guess it's you because Chris already said he hasn't. Have you watched Zack Snyder's cut yet?
No. If I had spare 4 hours, I would have fucking played Outriders. Like, I'm not watching that shit.
All right, so none of us have, because I think it's going to be just as bad as the original. Like, I don't really see how it's going to be.
We should set a task for ourselves. Maybe not by next week, but at some point we need to say we would have watched it.
By Christmas this year.
Yeah, by Christmas this year. Episode 100 in 33 weeks' time.
Do you know what? I'll say it. I'm going to try and watch it, but I'm going to try and watch it by next Thursday.
I kind of fucked myself because the additional challenge I set myself was to rewatch Justice League before watching the recut, so I knew what I was working with. But it's been very difficult to bring myself to watch that.
I wouldn't do it, dude. Honestly,
I know.
Wouldn't do it.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, come on, let's move on. Jamie, what you been playing?
Not much. I didn't get time
thank God.
to get round to Outriders. I really fucking wanted to play Outriders. I really like the look of that game, and the positive buzz has been encouraging. But instead, I think the most notable thing that I did with my week in terms of gaming was I'm at about the 8 to 9 hour mark on It Takes Two, which is proving to be a much longer game than I think anyone had anticipated.
Is it
but
like
it's still really good.
16 hours or something like that?
I don't even know. I hope it's not quite that long because Jesus Christ, Steph and I have got to get back to finishing that game.
I heard 15. Yeah, I had 15.
We had basically put a big session in because Steph wasn't streaming, but also didn't have work the next day. So we just played it for fucking hours one night and got a lot done. And sure enough, like I think a lot of the things I've got to say about that game are consistent with what we were saying last week, both Jonesy and I, which is that they are really good at finding fresh new ideas for each new stage and each new section of that game. They're really good at making sure that both players stay relevant and have things to do, and that each player requires the other to progress and vice versa.
I can tell you that How Long to Beat rated at 12 hours for all styles. Main story.
Okay. And I'm going to say that we're on the faster end of things because what I heard a lot more this week that I kind of didn't expect to hear was a lot of people coming out and saying, well, maybe it's just the people I listen to and the podcast I listen to. People talking about how they were finding it kind of difficult and they were finding elements of it unforgiving.
Okay.
I wonder if that's being influenced by, not trying to shoot shots at any partners out there, but the people that these individuals are choosing to play with. And maybe Steph and I were at a distinct advantage in that I remember going on the podcast last week and saying, Steph and I had this experience where we'd see a puzzle, we'd immediately look at it and say, okay, that's how we're going to try and solve this. And it would just work. Unlike boss fights, for example, Steph and I beat every boss fight on the first try. And then I was listening to one podcast this week where some people from GameSpot, I think, were saying, oh yeah, it's weirdly unforgiving, this boss fight. And I just was like, oh, we beat that and we weren't even aware that it was difficult for some people. Not bragging.
MLG here.
MLG. I mean, I'm not bragging. I would also like to say, for anyone wondering, yes, we are keeping track on the mini games, and yes, I'm absolutely smashing Steph out of the park. He has come nowhere near me.
Oh, well, thank goodness you said out of the park.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not. I mean,
That's interesting. I'm glad for that because I think I'm playing with my wife and it seems too straightforward at the moment. Like I'm hoping that it does things get trickier down the way.
Have you fought a boss yet?
Yeah, we fought the Hoover, and I don't think it's a boss, but we've done the mini boss with the first time that you fight the wasp with the shield.
Oh,
and
right.
You have to shoot it in the one. You have to shoot it in the back, and it comes at one of you, and then you have to dodge out of the way and get it. But yeah, we've done one boss, and we're coming up.
If anything, though, you've done the boss that I think a lot of people struggled with early on, which is I think it might be the second time you fight the Hoover, where it's not even the Hoover, it's the toolbox. Remember the toolbox? And he's slapping you with the shovel, and eventually, one of you has to get on the shovel, and the platform's being cut away. And
we did that first time. That was pretty obvious what you're supposed to do.
There you go. I agree with you for what it's worth, but apparently not everyone's seeing eye to eye on that one. But yeah, It Takes Two, proving to be a lot of fun. One of my favorite experiences of the year so far.
Nice. Okay.
Although I would like to.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, go for it.
I was going to say, I should say that because we did that boss, but we didn't stream it, and we're currently re-streaming the first bit we played off stream. So this week, maybe even today on Thursday, which is now going to be yesterday when the podcast goes out, I might have streamed the toolbox again. So that over at SuperShow
I'd love it if you just
twitch.tv/SuperShowJonesy.
Destroyed. Sorry.
Yeah, say your link
time
again.
around. Shit is different when you're live.
Say a link
again. That's true. Twitch.tv/SuperShowJonesy, where me and my wife, Psycho Puppy, is her tag on Twitch as well. I need to get a proper channel set up so she can play bullshit fake games. She plays loads of she plays Pokemon and other shit. So
wow.
I shouldn't say fake games.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
Cool. I think that's it from me, though. I'm hoping this time next week I'll be a little bit more rough and ready. I'll have my finger on the pulse of what's happening in the gaming world. But this week was very busy, and so a little bit off the boil.
Sometimes weeks go that way, right? Like busy or slow.
True. Streaming of people who haven't had. Speaking of people who haven't had time to play any games this week.
I've probably played about 10 times more games than you this week, so thank you very much. And that's all thanks to my streaming. Matching Jones with the stream is twitch.tv/hoppanic. I'm trying to stream three days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Obviously, we've just had Easter weekend, so I didn't stream on the Monday or the Friday. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Dota. I've been playing a lot of Apex Legends. I even went back to Risk of Rain 2, which is still a hell of a lot of fun. So,
yeah. Man, every time you stream that game, I want to immediately run to Steam, buy it, download it, and start playing it with you. But it's always just that little bit too expensive. I keep missing sales.
I know what you mean. I'll keep an eye out for you, and if it ever drops, I'll let you know. Because let me tell you, I think that game, I've played some of that with my buddy Paul, and yeah, it's fun, dude. It's a lot of fun. It's just it's funny. Matt Tawi actually messaged me after my Dota stream, and he was like, "Is Dota an easy game to get into?" And I was like, "Hell no! It's like one of the hardest games." I said, "But because he was looking for a game that you can kind of switch your brain off, you don't have to kind of pay much attention to it, but just still have a good time." And I said, "Well, Risk of Rain might be that game because while a lot of shit is happening and you got to like concentrate, there's no puzzle solving, it's not complex to the point where you really need to activate your brain. It's almost like you get into a state of flow and you just play the game."
Right.
It's one of those. It's so good. It's really so good. But yeah, I've been playing those games. Look, I mean, I've spoken about them plenty. I don't need to speak about them anymore. So don't think that I haven't been playing games. I have been playing quite a lot, but just those things that I've spoken about already. One thing that I do want to talk about is I finished watching, and I was going to mention it last week, but obviously the technical issues. The Dota anime on Netflix. I finished that.
Yes.
And
okay, cool.
I really fucking enjoyed it. And I think like you don't need to know Dota to get enjoyment out of it because it's just like, hey, it's high fantasy with fucking dragons and wizards and shit, right? But yeah, it was really well done. I was quite pleasantly surprised by it. You always go into these things hoping that they're going to be good, but we know that video game adaptations are,
true,
especially really ropey.
For someone like you, and with a game like Dota, I feel like because you spent thousands of hours in that game and you spent so much time with those characters, you're almost going to have something of an idea of how you think they should be treated or handled with an adaptation like this. And you know, do you feel like they did those characters justice? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're right. You do go in with preconceived notions of like what the lore is and how the characters should respond to whatever it is. But I was happy with everything that they did. I thought some of the voice acting was a bit ropey. There's some elves that were voiced by some Australians and just sounded a bit strange. Not because they're Australian, but just because it didn't seem to gel. It's almost as if they didn't get voiceover artists. They just got like Australians off the street, you know?
They went to a pub nearby.
They
went to the Outback and
they were literally drunk when they were recording this, slurring their words like, "Yeah, the dragon's blood is you gotta get more of the blood."
Let me qualify.
It's dragon's blood everywhere.
I wasn't suggesting Australians are always in the pub because they drink a lot. I was because where we used to work in London, all of the pubs employed Australians. Because they were on like they were traveling or doing like gap years or whatever.
You know what's funny? When I went to Australia, all the pubs in Australia had British people behind the bars.
Yeah, I think it's the reverse, right? Because the young Brits go there to.
Then also, Jonesy kind of hitting the nail on the head in that Australia is probably one of the few countries in the world right now where there probably are in pubs somewhere free at the moment. So
they can.
I don't think they are actually, but yeah.
Really? They're not allowed.
It was really good, and I mean, obviously I'd love for you guys to watch it just so we could talk about it and see what the different perspectives are from a Dota player and non-Dota players. But I know you're never going to watch it, but that's fine. I think globally in Netflix rankings, it hit 7th.
Okay.
On
that's
like popularity
decent.
for global rankings. Number 1 in a number of countries, such as Russia, Philippines, I believe Singapore, Ukraine. So the countries where Netflix is kind of like really fanatical, that they went straight to number 1, which is kind of like, of all of Netflix's fucking things, that's really impressive.
What's interesting about that as well is I guess a lot of it is not necessarily a Dota audience. It's just people that have like, oh, this is cool. And then they can watch it despite, I mean, maybe they are, maybe it is people that play a lot of Dota as well. But I'd imagine, because I think you said it's not something that feels like it's only for people that watch the TV, that play the game, sorry.
Yeah, definitely not. I think it's more a case of if you play the games, you kind of get the nods to the game.
Right.
But that's all you're really going to get from it. You don't get, like, it's not like there's a load of information that is hidden from someone who's never played the game before. It's all pretty much like fucking right there on the plate for you to chow down on, as it were.
Good stuff.
The weird thing with Netflix as well is you'll know if it did well because if it gets commissioned for a second season.
Yeah.
Because they have that brutal thing that if not enough people watch it, it just doesn't get a second season. It doesn't matter if it was like good or if some people liked it. It's just like not enough views.
It's even worse. They have this thing where unless it's an absolute smash hit, like let's say Stranger Things, they will never renew for a 3rd season. So it could still be good. It could still have a good audience retention, good completion rate. But if it's not an absolute hit, then they'll cancel it after season 2. That's their policy.
I find that so painful. Altered Carbon did bad.
I knew you were going to fucking say Altered Carbon.
Kills me, man.
But that is the perfect example of that policy in action.
Yeah.
Because also they probably want to see an upwards trajectory, right? And I feel like Altered Carbon dropped off slightly season 2.
Yeah.
Both in terms of like the critical and audience consensus, but also probably ratings.
But it's also kind of, they've got a really weird model, right? Like you hear that they've bought the next 2 sequels for Knives Out for like, what was it, like $500 million?
Yeah, it's like 450 million or something like that they've paid.
And it's like, Robin from Just Interesting was tweeting about it, saying like he doesn't even think that the first film grossed that much. And it's like, okay. But their model is not necessarily on how successful a single piece of content is going to be. It's more a case of how successful that content is going to be and how it's going to seed into the rest of the catalog. Like it's a very strange thing. Yeah, it's
brutal.
It's bizarre, but Netflix is such a fascinating kind of company in terms of how they operate. It's
even
really interesting.
Even the HBO Max numbers that came out this week I kind of found interesting. And I think from memory, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure Kong versus Godzilla or Godzilla, I can't remember which way. Who gets top billing on that? Is it Godzilla or King Kong?
I think it's Godzilla versus King Kong.
Godzilla versus Kong? Kong versus Godzilla? I don't know. While Chris is looking that up, though, I'm pretty sure
Godzilla versus Kong.
There you go, Godzilla
which I think
versus
makes
Kong.
sense.
I think that sort of its opening week or opening weekend gross in terms of not even gross, I should say, but households that watched it on HBO Max, which I believe is still a US only service, or at least it's not here in the UK available.
Yeah, the film is available here. I don't know where.
We just don't have HBO Max. We have to do it through other means. But it was double the amount of households that watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, which, don't get me wrong, Justice League, far more niche, also far longer, not really like a popcorn film that like a family would put on a weekend. But still, I was like, oh, geez, like double. And while also, of course, coming out in cinemas and becoming the biggest box office hit since the pandemic did its thing.
Yeah. There was an interesting article that I read that said why Godzilla vs. Kong was the savior of cinema where Tenet failed.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, I think vaccines also had a hand in the same cinemas.
But just a bit.
Also, people are just desperate to go back to the cinema. Dude, like, I love going to the cinema, and best believe the first opportunity I've got to go, I will go.
Me too.
Safely.
And make no mistake, since all this stuff has come out, Warner Brothers have already doubled down on the fact that, like, hey, 2022 going forward, this whole HBO Max day and date thing, not going to fucking happen. Like, the Batman.
I'm glad for that. I don't want that to keep going.
They're going back to
it is the death
runs.
for cinema if they keep doing that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
And it is kind of weird that there are still some fairly big movies that I'm just like not going to watch in the cinema. Like Yeah, and speaking, it's funny you mentioned Dota and adaptation. Like next up is fucking Mortal Kombat, baby.
Yeah,
it's just a couple more weeks. Can't wait.
Do you know what I've been really waiting for? And like this is purely because I am a massive Ryan Reynolds fanboy, but is Free Guy, where he's an NPC.
Oh yeah, it could be fun. Could be fun.
That could be fun.
That was supposed to release like 2 years ago, and because I think it got pushed, and then because of
2
COVID,
years.
I think it was supposed to come out in like 2019, wasn't it?
Jesus.
Originally, like the back end, and then I think it got delayed until 2020, and I believe because of COVID, it got pushed again. So that was probably made like 4 years ago or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's getting a bit ridiculous now.
By the way, I'm just going to throw this out here while we're talking about COVID delays. Since we've been recording, Deathloop has been delayed again.
No way!
Oh wow!
Seriously, Deathloop is now coming out in September.
When was it meant to come out? Like relatively soon, right?
Like next month.
Jeez.
Wow. Okay.
Which was itself was already a delay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you know what? All I'm going to say is Cyberpunk. That's all you got to know.
It does make it
that like it's fine. Just fucking delay it.
No, but at the same time, like that's exactly what Cyberpunk did, right? They bumped it by a month, and then it was like by a little bit, and I don't know. Nowadays, it makes me feel weird. Like, is that game so goddamn terrible?
Oh, you start worrying now. Like, shit, they've had to delay. What's wrong? What's happening? Yeah, maybe.
Exactly.
Okay. Look, talking about all these like everything that happened from COVID. One thing that happened was obviously E3 got cancelled and tried to come back and got cancelled, and fucking we all kind of rung the bell for the death of E3. But hey, guess what? Like a zombie, like Stubbs the Zombie coming back in its remaster, E3 2021 is happening as an all-digital event. And it seems like it's actually going to go through this time. It's very, very interesting. And there's been some very interesting support by certain companies. Because Nintendo, Xbox, Ubisoft, Capcom, Take-Two, Warner Brothers, and Koch Media at this time have backed E3 and said that they will be attending. So interesting one there. Obviously, Xbox has always said that they see the value in E3. They said last year that they were going to be there if there was one taking place. It got cancelled, so whatever. Xbox did their own shit. But Nintendo saying that they're going to be at E3 is very interesting because they were among the first of the big boys to kind of say, you know what, fuck all this, we'll do our own thing. We're going to do Nintendo Direct, and we can do it however we want, and we can have Nintendo Treehouse there. But good old Doug Bowser himself has said, can't wait to be at E3 and show you what Nintendo's been cooking up. Notable that EA and Sony are still planning their own things. EA Play is obviously not always, but for a very long time, even before Nintendo, I believe, were doing their own thing adjacent to E3.
Yeah.
And Sony, of course, kind of writings on the wall there. They more and more just kind of are backing away from it. But yeah, it's interesting. Look, fair to say that more people could still jump onto the E3 kind of 2021 bandwagon, as it were. Then there was a whole bunch of rumors swirling around saying like, there's going to be a paywall to enter it, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's going to be 100% free. And I think this is maybe the ESA kind of trying to clutch back control from Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
what do you guys think?
As a result, like Summer Games Fest is left in a really weird position, right? Because, don't get me wrong, at its best, it was some kind of a calendar or an aggregator for everything that was happening in the summer. Like Jeff Keighley, with the exception of Gamescom, which he is pretty hands-on with, didn't do that much last year.
But maybe it's because there was not much for him to do. Like, it just kind of seemed to me like he saw an opportunity that E3 wasn't happening. He was like, you know what? Because like Game Awards started off quite small, right? And he's like, you know what? This could be the start of the next big kind of thing. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But then also like he failed at what some people clearly still wanted in the gap that E3 left behind, which was some kind of cohesion. They wanted things to happen in a quicker time frame.
Yeah.
He's promised that that's going to happen this year. But even his Summer Games Fest, I could keep remembering, it's actually called. He's quoted it as taking place in a month. And now E3's digital event is going to be, less than a week.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with the support they've got. But I can only imagine, and this is kind of a mixture between sort of what I'm envisioning happening behind the scenes and some conjecture I've heard from some other sort of onlookers and insiders, that at some point the ESA must have dropped some of the things that they were pitching. Like obviously at some point we talked about them charging potential 6-figure fees for people who wanted to get involved. I think they dropped a lot of that in the knowledge that, hey, these companies can and will do their own live streams and just kind of try to pitch this idea of like, hey, let's all come together. Let's make some buzz around E3. Let's get more collective eyeballs on all our shit. And that some people clearly responded to that, and some people clearly still like the idea of E3 having that importance and significance within the gaming annual calendar. I don't know.
This might play right into the hands of Summer Game Fest, which will be interesting. So? Well, it could do, because if you had, now that E3 is not going to be, or they've said it's not going to be behind a paywall, there's also like going to be, I was looking on their website before, but there's going to be like co-streaming and stuff, similar to how a lot of events do now, like official co-streamers, in which case you could end up with a situation, and as Jamie just said, all these companies are also going to do their own stuff, but not just backing the ESA with E3, they're also going to put out their own events. So if Jeff Keighley and Summer Game Fest can effectively become the online digital hub to cover all of that, especially if they frame it with E3 maybe as the central thing, I think it could play right into their hands, and it could actually bind everything together in a weird way, as opposed to having this, what was it last year, like 4-month span of random like shit coming out
with nothing fucking interesting.
Yeah, like strange kind of dev conferences that you were like, oh, that was kind of okay.
There were solid things last year. They were just too scattershot.
Yes, scattershot is the word.
Yeah. And too many of the people either still involved in E3 like Ubisoft or not, like EA, kind of seemed to pull their punches a little bit. Like EA stream was weak, in my opinion, but it can't be this year because of Battlefield. Ubisoft stream was weak, but that's because I think they weren't sure what they were really doing and have kind of figured some of that stuff out since. But I'm still with Jonesy in that, like, E3 will happen, these companies will show up, I think we'll get some cool stuff, but I think they all still have ideas for what they can do themselves at some point or another.
Yeah.
Which then leads you into that weird place, because you're going to have E3 is going to be good, but it's not going to include, oh, it didn't have the trailer for this, it didn't have the trailer for that, oh, they saved back this for their own show. And then Game Fest can arguably say, yeah, and all of it was in Game Fest, which was this 2-month period, and we had E3, and we had like all this other stuff on the side.
Maybe.
I think the only thing that's going to, like, this is all good, and, you know, the conferences are very good. We've also got to remember that Xbox saying that they're going to be at the E3 conference probably means Bethesda's going to be at the E3 conference. So, you could add them to that, which is kind of like missing from all the literature that I've been seeing. But really what they need to do, because if you were attendee at E3, Jonesy, I mean, I remember you telling me the story of you waiting in line to go play Spider-Man at E3.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do here. They need to do the demos. So obviously Steam have announced their own fucking demo extravaganza coming up soon. They need these demos to get into people's hands via Steam or whatever it may be. Maybe there's just be an E3 portal, in which case be careful with how you sign up to E3, because they don't have a good track record with your data. But, they need something more, I think, than just the conferences to kind of keep them relevant. Because
do you think there's any possibility that, despite them saying there's no paywall to watch E3, do you think there is some chance that there still will be some paid element to like get access to the demos or something like that?
You know what? I'd like to think that there isn't, but there's a cheeky kind of comment on it. I think it was Nibble on Twitter who said, "Oh my God, E3 is going to have a battle pass."
Yes.
And actually, you know what? I think that's actually kind of a sick idea. If it's a free battle pass, obviously, but can you imagine? It's like you've got the progression.
How do you level up? Like watching trailers?
Watch shit.
No, yeah. So it's like, oh, you want access to the Nintendo demos? Guess what? Watch the Nintendo conference, and then you get the demos. I think that's cool. I know it'll rub a lot of people the wrong way, because if you just want to play a demo, you just want to play a demo.
We're literally
we're talking about. I think it's cool. I think it's like unusual.
We're talking about the gamification of advertisements. This is like when you like can agree to watch ads on a mobile game, a free to play mobile game, in return for points.
If you think that the gamification of advertising hasn't happened already, Fortnite, cough cough, then you're mental.
It's not saying that hasn't. I just gave another example of it. I'm just saying I don't want E3 to be it.
I don't mind it as long as.
No, hang on a second. What? No, just. It's like no. What? Like it's what? Sorry. Take the example of what you want a reward on the battle pass to be, and just make it free.
No, because they already do. Because as Chris said, they already do it, right? So I've watched a number of live show events where they say, whilst you're watching the event,
you get drops.
We send you codes. We send you drops. So they already do it. So if what Chris is talking about and what like Nibble was alluding to is a battle pass whereby as you watch, there's a chance that you get like a drop for a demo or something. I'm like, okay, fine. If you want me to watch the event for that game in order to get the drop for that game, I'm okay, I can kind of see it. If they charge you money though to get the battle pass,
I don't know. I'm not even in support of the drops thing, to be honest. I think it's a way of building up, like obviously it's a way of getting people into the thing you're putting on, which fair enough, that's what your job is. But it also builds up some kind of like unnecessary artificial scarcity, right? Like it's a fucking demo that is being played by the public.
I wouldn't make it I'd make it like a 100% drop, where if you're watching it, you get the drop. Do you know what I mean?
Just release the demo. You've just reminded me that I got one the other day.
I am with you, Jamie. I completely
but I know
agree,
that's not the way the world works, right?
But there is a part of me that would love to see something like this happen, because I honestly think it's kind of fun. But I know I'm in the minority, because I can imagine the average Joe just wants to play his fucking Metroid Prime 4 demo, and he doesn't want to sit and wait.
Right.
Yeah, we come onto the podcast one week and it's like, I didn't get involved in the Battlefield alpha because I didn't watch the EA stream. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels a bit weird.
Reality, it's like communism, right? Like in theory, it works.
Yeah, right.
But the reality is
I think
much
I got
more
one
dire.
recently. I can't remember what it was for though, where I was watching a stream and it was like they sent me a code and we're like, well done, because
was
you
this on
watched, you got
Pornhub?
this.
Did you get the Ridey Reed fleshlight drop?
Yes, that's what. No, I think it was Square Enix's event they had a couple of weeks ago, if I remember.
I wonder what you've got access to.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I obviously
it must have been a Marvel thing. Come on.
Yeah, there's going to be some Avengers cosmetic.
Probably, yeah. Oh God, I bet it was.
But anyway, someone on my stream asked if I was excited about E3 being announced. And it's like, dude, like we can bash the fact that E3 have had really terrible decision making lately, and that's why E3 last year was cancelled. But there is something special about E3. Now, will that kind of special sauce come across as a digital event? I don't know. They have kind of committed to E3 2022 taking place and being a physical event, vaccinations willing, I guess, and however they'd manage it safety-wise. But there is something special about E3. We've always said it. The fact that you can come together for a week in, when is it, like June, July, and be like, fuck yes, now we're fucking talking. Here is all of this info, and you get super hyped for the rest of the year. And it's something to look forward to, and it's something to reflect upon afterwards. I think it's fucking cool. And we need to figure out how we are going to deal with this. Maybe we just do a co-stream.
Maybe. We've done it for a few bits and pieces before, right?
Yeah.
A few of the events last summer.
Well, so this is, exactly. But maybe a more concerted effort than just like me and Greece phoning in on the PlayStation thing. But like people in the same stream were reminiscing about how good they loved all of our E3 coverage as ATG. And that last E3 coverage that we did, I absolutely fucking loved it, even though I fell asleep during the Ubisoft one.
That was a good time. That was a good time.
It was great, man. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd watched a lot of content like that, I guess, prior to us doing it ourselves. So taking part in something like that was neat. And having a few days of work where for some reason we were going in at night and then leaving in the morning was also kind of unique and pretty cool.
Well, how's your week looking, Chris? Oh, well, I'm going to sleep during the day and I'm going to wake up and go to the office and just switch a camera on and just talk shit. Streamer's life, I guess, but whatever.
weird, but still a weird old thing.
Yeah, it was, when a typical work day would be like, oh, well, I'll get into work and we'll start recording VOs and we'll start editing and we'll plan for the next kind of thing and we'll have a look at the schedule. We'll deal with any problems.
Bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. A typical work day for you was get in at 11 o'clock, have a lazy breakfast, realise it's almost lunchtime, wait till lunchtime, have a lazy lunch, come back in the afternoon.
You are doing wait until
your food's digested. Wait until your food's digested because there's no point in working while you're digesting food. Feel a little bit tired.
Wow.
Realise you've got a VO to do. Go and spend way too long doing the VO because you chatted about half an hour before and an hour and a half afterwards. Then realise it's probably too late in the day to start any work.
I think you're talking about yourself, and this starts to make a lot of sense with the deliverables that I used to ask you for.
Suddenly the death of all-time gaming is not so surprising.
You are doing a disservice to how we.
Obviously,
maybe in the last month or so of the channel's life for sure.
Oh, the last month or so we just didn't go in. we just went in to use their studio.
We just went in to record SuperShow.
The SuperShow.
Yeah.
And to stream. And we're like, yeah, that's all we're doing now. We're just streaming. Oh, fucking hell. All right, last story of the day. Oh my God. We're talking about Death Stranding. Back to Kojima, because it all comes back around to Kojima. He's like the Kevin Bacon of gaming. Okay, because guess what, motherfuckers? Death Stranding made $23 million on PC alone. And that is coming from the PC publisher, 505 Games.
I'm really happy for this.
Yeah. It's only taken 5 months, guys. 23 million.
Given, like, I have a lot of love for that game. I have not finished it. It is very long. But there was obviously a lot of questions when it was coming around. And to hear that it's still doing well and is sold well and is making money, I think that's pretty wicked.
Yeah. I think 505 Games are projecting for Death Stranding to have lifetime sales on PC of 50 million, which I think is maybe...
50 million pounds is worth noting.
Euros.
50 million euros.
Just not units, but basically.
50 million euros. I think it's maybe a bit ambitious, considering, by the time his next game comes. But their reasoning is that the game hasn't been put on sale yet on PC, and their trajectory is kind of indicating that it would head that. But
yeah, I don't know if they're factoring this in, but there were also a lot of murmurings that have died out a little bit since, but maybe a couple of months ago, that there was some kind of new or revised version of Death Stranding in the works that had additional story content. Whether that would be a separate thing for 505 Games, I don't know. But there were strong rumors about that.
They're probably banded together, right?
Has it had a PlayStation 5 version, or is it going to?
No. So that's the thinking, that it's going to be a PlayStation 5 next gen version with additional content.
Oh, I see. Right.
Because of course, like packaging stuff up with additional content is a way to sell a whole new.
Yeah. And I mean, and you guys know that if any game could benefit from more stuff added to it, it's Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Just add in some more of those.
Yeah.
Add some more cutscenes, and I'll be hyped.
Yeah, exactly. Add more cutscenes.
Well, not cutscenes. Sorry, like no more cutscenes. Just add more animations to the opening the cans.
Yeah, maybe you'll go back to that game, right? Right, Jonesy?
Yeah, mate.
I'd be down for more gadgets. Yeah, like more exoskeletons, more shoes, things like that. That would be wicked.
Didn't you complete that game? And then I said about the fact like the bowler gun can tie up the BTs, and then you were like, "What?"
I think that rings a bell. I don't ever knew that you could bolo gun the BTs. But then until you get like the blood knife thing, I basically didn't fuck with BTs. I would stealth around. I would take the stealth very serious in that game.
There is some stuff in that game which is so like good that I never even, I don't know, it seems it's a thing that in a game I hadn't really considered about how good it was. Like if you have a cloud of your blood, like, because you can throw vials and stuff, obviously. Yeah. If you have a cloud of your blood and you shoot normal bullets through your blood, they then damage BTs because your blood damages them. But if you use normal bullets normally, it doesn't do anything. That is so wicked. Like the stuff that he thinks of around that.
Yeah, but that's very Hideo Kojima, right? Like
I love that.
It's almost like, in the best way possible, it's an autistic attention to detail, right? It's like
I get what you mean.
Being like a savant, right?
Whereas people, like normal people, go, "Oh, I haven't even thought of that," and you're like, "No, you need to pay attention to the details. That was what makes games good."
Yeah.
Absolutely.
God, for some reason, that just gave me a weird flashback. Do you remember the Order?
1886.
Yeah, that had a gun in it.
Crap.
That was like a gun that actually, weirdly enough, is similar to a pair of guns that appear in the game It Takes Two that we were talking about earlier. But it had a really cool thing because obviously it was like Victorian kind of era shit. It had a thermite gun, where one trigger would like shoot clouds of thermite dust into the air.
Oh, yeah.
And the other trigger would shoot like an igniter. And it was really cool.
That's cool. That is very cool.
There were some cool ideas in that game.
That game
but
had some cool ideas, yeah. It was also like 3 hours long and really bad. But that's really cool ideas.
Man. But yeah, so Interestingly enough, Hideo Kojima's name has also been in the news this week for a really weird reason. And we're kind of going to go through the story, right? Because a new survival horror title on the PlayStation was announced called Abandoned. And it looked okay, fucking fidelity of it looked okay. It looked a little bit janky in places, I guess, but survival in the fucking woods and shit and looked suitably spooky. But what's interesting about it, okay, is that onlookers started to notice a little bit of weird shit going on because the developer's name is Blue Box, BB, as in, what are the fucking Bridge Babies. Then they went to the game's website, but hey, guess what? There is no fucking website. There's no history of this developer. And one of the developers' names had the initials HK or Hideo Kojima to some people. But of course, this is all tinfoil hat bullshit. So conspiracy theorists started rumors that the game could be tied to Kojima. Now, it's not the first time that he's hidden behind different developer names and hidden his name from it. If we remember Phantom Pain and the whole lead up to that.
Moby Dick
Games, yeah, exactly, with showing off the Fox engine with the guy with the fucking bandages all over his face.
You can call me Ishmael.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, so it's not out of the realm of possibility, but maybe people are kind of, I don't know, QAnoning it, for lack of a better word, kind of trying to find connections where maybe there are none. It's an interesting thing. So since then, the website, I think, has gone live for Blue Box, and
I think it's still down it's live. It says we'll be back, but it's not. There's nothing on it yet. But they do have a quote on there or a statement directly relating to this because they were getting so many emails about
the fact that they even had to release a statement, like some poor old indie game that made some atmospheric survival horror that just happened to get put on the PlayStation YouTube channel, which, by the way, isn't particularly well looked like. Do you remember the fucking, what was it?
Life of Black Tiger.
Life of Black Tiger, yeah. Which is still on the PlayStation YouTube channel with like fucking over 1 million views. These poor guys like just made a survival horror game, and now all of a sudden they wake up and it's like, hang on a second, everyone thinks we've made a fake game.
Guys. Poor guys.
Well, yeah, they can make a lot of money out of it.
Yeah, they shouldn't have said anything that they weren't affiliated with Kojima.
True.
No, I disagree. The best thing is to deny it. Because, as we said before, denial proves the conspiracy. The only way to prove a conspiracy is to deny it. They should have had some. To be fair, the denial should have been better, in the sense of it should have gone harder, where they go, any suggestion that we are linked to Kojima Productions will be will be met with our lawyers.
We fucking hate that guy. Fuck him. But what was interesting to me as kind of a onlooker was loading up my Twitter timeline and scrolling through and just seeing random people being like, this looks so fucking good, this, that, that. I was like, okay. So I watched the trailer and I was like, really? This is your takeaway from it? It did kind of feel a little bit that people were being overly hyped on it for whatever God knows reason. And maybe the reason is because they think it's a fucking Kojima game.
They wanted
which begs the question, if Kojima releases a subpar game but slaps on a Hideo Kojima game, does it make it better?
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
But I suppose people like me more likely to buy it, I guess.
Yeah, but it's that thing of if you make a prediction right and you're wrong, no one remembers the fact that you made a prediction and you were wrong. But if you make a prediction and you were right, everyone's like, you're incredible. So these people may be saying, this game looks great. So if it does come out, it is Hideo Kojima. They can point to that and go, hey, look, I was ahead of the curve. But if it comes out and it's some shit indie, then no one's going to remember the fact that they tweeted about it back in the day.
Well, so, man. Yeah, even more interesting, okay? Jeff Grubb, industry insider and Games Beat, what would he be? Games editor? Yeah.
Hairy man, why not?
Hairy man, he is a hairy man. He's a Game Beat hairy man. He wrote an article that kind of, burnt down the rumors. But in the same fucking article, he also suggested that Hideo Kojima is in talks with Microsoft to publish his next game. So things get even fucking screwier, right? Because I was always under the impression that Hideo Kojima Productions was a PlayStation Studios thing. But hey, it turns out they're not. They were financed to set up by Sony. They were gifted the Decima engine, from Guerrilla Games, but they're not, and I guess that's why it's on PC. But then again, other games are on PC that are PlayStation Studios. It's such a weird fucking thing. I don't know, and it's entirely plausible because hey, guess what? MLB The Show 21 is coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one, so for free if you're paying for Games Pass. But PlayStation owners need to pay for it. That's a PlayStation Studios game. That's a legit PlayStation Studios game.
That is a game developed from the ground up by a studio owned by PlayStation and Sony that is coming to Game Pass day one and has an Xbox logo on it. There's a trailer you can watch with an Xbox logo that fades into a PlayStation logo.
Yeah. So it's entirely plausible. And I think what could potentially be happening is we are starting to see a shift of Sony and PlayStation's strategy. Because obviously, Xbox has had a massive shift in their strategy with Games Pass and trying to put all their games on as many fucking platforms as possible. So maybe PlayStation are kind of waking up to it as well. I don't know.
I think PlayStation are probably comfortable because they're still obviously trying to do the goodwill things of like PlayStation Plus has been solid if you're a PlayStation 5 owner for the last 4 or 5 months. I think they see the whole play at home initiative and the free games around that as solid PR. But they are getting sort of a certain amount of backlash for the MLB thing. They are obviously constantly being compared to Microsoft and Game Pass. With each new, announcement and arrival. Outriders was another big day one Game Pass deal that I think some Sony fans were looking at and saying, and now this, if the Kojima thing proves to be true, which probably less of like it's almost certain the conversations happened, whether or not anything comes as a result is another question entirely. Sure. But it's another thing that probably makes some Sony fans and PlayStation fans look across the pond and think, it's interesting what you can do when Bill Gates can get his checkbook out whenever something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, what problems can you solve by throwing money at them? And the answer in gaming at the moment is a fair amount.
Yeah, especially when you look over at your PlayStation 5 and realize that you're not going to get any Elder Scrolls or Fallouts or,
Yeah. Sony are putting tens of, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into the development of first-party games, and Microsoft are putting tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into acquiring those first-party games or acquiring studios to make them for them. Which... different strokes for different folks.
It would be really funny? They'd be like, at the negotiating table, it's like, all right, you give us Starfield, we'll give you the next Hideo Kojima game.
Maybe. They're just begging them, like, hey, those Bethesda, please don't make them exclusive. Please.
Share the love. Share the love.
If you let the Elder Scrolls 6 come out on PlayStation, you can have MLB The Show.
How long will it be until Xbox Game Pass is available on PlayStation? There's an app for it and you can load it up.
If PlayStation, I guarantee you PlayStation are the ones that don't want it. Phil Spencer would love Game Pass to be on PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He wants to get that everywhere, doesn't he? But you get to a strange thing where it's almost like the rivalry thing, and especially with crossplay, etc., and coming to more and more games, it just makes more sense for games to be available on more systems and to be available to more people. And surely more of these sorts of collaborations are likely to come down the line, right? Like MLB's the first one, but then how many more are going to come down the line? I think you could see some weird shit happen in the next couple of years.
Dude, the future, because Xbox is fucking writing, Microsoft and Xbox are writing the future, whether you believe it or not. The future is coming down to services, not to exclusives. So it's going to be a case where eventually, if Sony and PlayStation don't kind of like notice what's going on, they're going to be caught down with their pants around their ankles, right? Because what's going to happen is it's not going to be about exclusives. It's going to be about the services. And if they are still fighting that exclusives war, then if they're fighting the battle, but the war has moved on, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like holding a grudge on someone for multiple years, but then that person's just kind of moved on. And then it's almost you kind of have to sit there and say, why do I still have a grudge? Like, nothing's going to come of it. It's the same kind of sentiment. Jonesy, you are a big kind of champion of everything moving to the cloud, right? And console-less games where you're just going to have your controller.
I am.
I think we've all agreed that is the case, but we disagree about when. But if that's the case, and then it's purely all that you're left with are your services, and then it's a case of saying, okay, we can put our games on everyone's service, But what is going to differentiate our service from the other service? And then that's kind of where they're going to start getting into things.
I mean, yes,
interesting.
no, absolutely.
Interesting 5 years up ahead, fellas.
There's a really weird analogy I'd even say with in the UK at the moment with regard to COVID and office buildings, and the fact that office buildings are now empty across the country because everyone's realized that a lot of their staff can just work from home because they have computers at home and they have webcams and you don't need to be in the same building. And these companies are saving a goddamn fortune. And so you get to the point where, you know, Sony, Xbox are going to realize if we've got a good service and we don't need to sell hardware, then we don't need to spend as much money on R&D for that sort of stuff. Then, like I said, we've always said for years it's coming. I think I've always said it's going to be 5 to 10 years from over 10 years ago. So it's going to
bullshit. You said it was like 2 years time.
No, but I've been saying it's going to be like 5 to 10 years, probably for the last 10 years. So it's, I've got no idea when it's actually going to be here. But I think it's a matter of time, like we've said. And it's, but then it does get, then you can see why Xbox are they're winning at the moment. Like leave PlayStation 5 aside, leave Xbox Series X or S aside. Xbox are definitely the ones pushing it. Microsoft are definitely winning at the moment with what they're offering and the way they're thinking.
Well, winning hearts and minds.
And minds, yes.
They're not. I don't think they're winning the revenue race. Not that we'd ever know, just because the sheer volume of PlayStation 5s that are being sold at cost is.
Oh, I think they're definitely losing that. But then I think you've got to look. It's almost like the thing of, you know, they're losing the battle, but they look so far ahead in the war because, like as we said, when you move to cloud gaming, when you move to services primarily, they just seem to be thinking about it, whereas Sony still seem to be stuck a little bit.
Services have to be. We can flash back to earlier in this chat, can't we? Where we talked about Netflix paying $450 million for the next 2 Knives Out movies.
Yeah,
Clearly, that's the fucked up thing about services, right? Is that we're all so on board because we just think, oh, such amazing deals. Like, look at these films. Oh, HBO Max. Like, they're coming at the same time at the cinemas. But clearly, like, corporations wouldn't be pushing these things and pursuing them so hard if we weren't somehow getting fucked over in the long run. Like, clearly.
No, but they don't want us to get fucked. They want us. That's the thing. They want us to pay. But as long as we think we're getting a good deal, are we getting fucked over? As long as if we're paying and we feel like we're getting a good deal, is that us, you know?
I mean, I see where you're coming from.
I did think of something horrible. That Netflix model of sequels and third games and third movies applied to games, where it doesn't matter if the sequel was good. It matters that it didn't make as much money, so they just write it off and it never comes out.
Well, you know what? Thankfully, it's actually the opposite, right? Because how many fucking fourth entries in the series have been absolute garbage, but then they still carry on.
But that's now, mate. That's not in the Netflix future of services.
Resident Evil.
You also get a lot of bad games that they try and sort of put a positive spin on by saying, look how many people tried this on Game Pass. Look how many people tried Crackdown 3 on Game Pass. Crackdown 4 coming. Because all of a sudden, like, games like Crackdown 3 go from being bad games to not spend your money on to curiosities that maybe you should just try because it's there.
Yeah.
And you know why they want to make a sequel is because they've already got the engine, they've already got the assets, they've already got like loads of the characters, they've already got, it's a lot cheaper to make a sequel than it is to come out.
I don't know if Crackdown
Maybe
3
not
is like, I don't know if it's got an engine. I think that thing looks like it's held together by duct tape sometimes.
Oh man.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for this week. So, fellas, we need a code word. And I was thinking, actually, this week, unless you have any ideas, I was thinking we don't ask for a code word and we just ask for people's favorite cheesecake flavors.
Let's do it. I like it.
Let's do it. Cheesecake.
Perfect.
There we go. And with that,
hang on. I've never had it before. I don't think. But caramel, some kind of caramel or toffee cheesecake. There you go. That's my actual answer.
Oh, sticky toffee cheesecake.
There you go. Exactly.
Two puddings, putting them together.
It took me almost 2 hours to give you a straight answer, Chris, but now you've got it.
There we go. I like it. Thank you.
Before we log off, can I just share with you a video that YouTube wants me to watch?
Sure. As in the title?
As in the title.
Yeah.
It's 12 seconds long. It's got 18 million views.
I know exactly what it is.
Wait, Jonesy, is this a video of you losing your virginity?
No, I know exactly.
Oh, very good. But no.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I'd love to have lasted that long. And then the title of the video is just "Fat Guy Sings Moana in a Canoe."
Oh, okay. Not what I was thinking. But that's excellent.
I didn't know.
18 million views. We should recreate it, Jamie.
It's just Jamie in his bathtub.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's telling me. I don't know why. I don't know why it thinks I want to watch that video.
Oh, that's great.
But obviously, it thinks a lot of people do.
YouTube's algorithm.
Bro, YouTube. Yeah, literally. I realized YouTube had lost the plot yesterday when I realized that when all it wanted me to watch was this guy making Subway sandwiches in like 1 minute and talking over them.
But
I've had those shared to me as well.
Shorts channels are going viral, and it's like people who work at Subway, someone who works at some ice cream shop. Like they,
yeah.
I get the Subway dude.
Shorts just the beginning of the end. You heard it here first. Fuck
and
them.
don't you notice as well on YouTube, like the homepage, it'll be like, okay, it's a fat guy sings Moana in a canoe, and on the very next row, it'll be the same video.
I don't know if
right.
I've seen that.
I don't know if I've seen
I get it so often. It's ridiculous. It's like, am I only watching one type of content that they need to recommend it to me twice in 2 rows? Anyway, we got to log off, fellas. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on a podcast platform of your choice, and thank you so much for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And we will see you soon.
See ya.